The whole world, billions of eyes are fixed on Paris, on records, on photo finishes, on tears of joy. But on the other side of the globe, more than 3,000 kilometers away, Israel's onslaught, its indiscriminate attack on Gaza, continues. 25-year-old Leila Almasri grew up far away from her homeland to Palestinian parents in Colorado, parents who lived through events like the First Intifada. She picked up an athletic scholarship to run in college and was invited by the International Olympic Committee to represent Palestine in the women's 800 meters race at Paris 2024. She's been flying the Palestinian flag high. We caught up with her at the Olympic Village. Layla, welcome to TRT World. For any Olympic athlete, carrying the hopes and dreams of a whole nation is something they're used to. But for you, representing Palestine, what's that experience like?
I think it's a really surreal experience. You don't ever expect to be on such a big stage with the flag of your country on your chest. It's always the dream, and very few people get the opportunity. And so I'm very grateful and privileged to be able to do it. It's especially heavy right now. It's challenging for our delegation, but it's also something we're really proud of. As athletes, I'm really passionate about looking at the athlete on the whole piece and their identities of not just being an athlete. We're also, daughters, sons, mothers, everybody has their own identity, and our team specifically. You can't just say, oh, we're athletes here at the Olympics. We're also Palestinians who are grieving and who are carrying the weight of our nation with us.
Being a Palestinian athlete either means you train in very tough situations, limited facilities, or you have to go abroad, right? Your experience has been, you were, born and raised abroad, but for your teammates in the Palestinian delegation, have you heard some of the stories that they've went through, the kind of tough situations they've been through?
Definitely. It's actually funny you bring it up because we were talking about this yesterday. I know Valerie has mentioned it before. I'm not super familiar with swimming on the whole, but there's no regulation-sized pool in Palestine. But in addition to that, I was talking yesterday, track athlete to track athlete, about Muhammad, but mostly I was talking to Coach Duman. We were talking about the resources, and there's tracks, but they're concrete tracks. So he doesn't get to train with spikes until he goes abroad for training camps, and training camps are an expense. He has to be shipped off, essentially. He was in Germany, and he's been at training camps in Morocco and Algeria. It's really a great opportunity for him to be able to run places where he's not blocked off by checkpoints, and he's able to train on a track with spikes, and he's able to utilize resources. Whereas for myself, I get to do it from the comfort of my own home, and it's a sacrifice. He has to sacrifice being home with his family and time with family to chase the dream, to chase the Olympic dream. And he's made it to the stage, but, it's not just him. There's plenty of athletes in Palestine who hold this potential. If they had the resources and the opportunities and the right to access, the right to life, the right to whatever it might be, we could be bringing more than 8. In our delegation, we have 8 athletes, which is the most we've ever had, and I think the future is bright, and we continue to hope to bring more. But there's always a what if we could have that regulation-sized pool or the track to utilize. There's so many possibilities, and I hope that those can be realized in the future. But it's really interesting to hear their different perspectives on what their training is like versus mine.
We were at the opening ceremony on the River Seine. When your guys' boat passed, everyone was cheering for you guys. I mean everyone. Meanwhile, Israel's boat was met with boos, lots and lots of boos. As a Palestinian athlete, what has your experience been in international competitions like the Olympics? How have people been treating you? How have they reacted to seeing Palestine on your shirt, seeing the Palestinian flag?
Yeah, I didn't expect necessarily such a positive reaction. As we go around the village, as we sit in the dining halls or leave the village and go into town. There's people asking for pins, trading pins like you do at the Olympics, which we ran out of very quickly. Everybody is just generally really excited and sometimes surprised to see us here. You never know what to expect when you're going to a different country, and you never know what reactions are going to be, but I think we're really fortunate to see that, maybe the world and governing bodies don't necessarily recognize, there are countries that don't recognize Palestine as a country, but the world is with us. The world stands with us, and this mini village of people representing all different countries kind of shows that the people are with Palestine.
They say sports is one of the biggest ways to get heard, right? Noah Lyles, after he won the 100 meters, he had that tweet about, if you have asthma, if you have dyslexia, know that you can do it. Do you think, in terms of what you guys are trying to promote here, do you think you guys have been heard on the Olympic stage? Do you think you've been successful in that fact?
100%, yeah. I think that's a great example of the tweet from Noah Lyles. I think that was an incredible stand to take, an incredible way to bring awareness to future and up-and-coming athletes who are, maybe unsure of where they fit in the sport world. And
obviously, two different matters.
100%,
on one side,
yes.
asthma, on the other side, genocide.
Exactly, and I think sports are very unique.
Yeah.
It really is a place to speak about what matters to you. And for us, like I said earlier, we're here to compete, but we also know that our role is a little bit different. I think the world is receiving our message, and I think just showing up is a message in itself. Being here and taking up space and being advocates for our people and showing hope and possibility and the representation is the biggest part. I think being here and representing is the loudest thing that we can do. And then to continue to speak about it in addition is huge.
Since October 7th, Israel's response to Hamas's attack has been brutal. Around 40,000 Palestinians have been killed, around 15,000 of whom were children. Millions more have been displaced.
There are more than 10,000 athletes here at the Olympics, right? That means more than 10,000 stories. And everyone's story is different. Everyone's been through hard times. For Palestinians, since October, what has your experience been seeing all the atrocities, trying to get ready for the Olympics, living in the US? Can you talk about your experience a little bit?
Yeah, it's heavy, I would say. You can't open your phone without seeing constant heartbreak. But I also think when I knew that this would be a possibility for me, I knew that this was my way of giving back and my way of resisting is the best way I can put it, because we all bring our own different tools to the table. There are doctors, journalists, and then us athletes, people on the ground. Everyone has their own resources. But when it first started happening, I wasn't sure how I fit. I felt like, what am I doing here, racing, running, traveling across different states to, chase some personal records and do these incredible things while people with the faces of my mother, the faces of myself, the faces of my father, you see these pictures of myself as a baby and I look like Reem or Hind, and that weighs heavy. But then you have to have a shift in perspective, because if what I bring to the table is my athletic abilities and it gives me a platform to be able to speak about it and to bring awareness, then that's the card that I have to play and be that kind of catapult for change. I've never been to a big race, like a race as big as this, but also just any big race where I didn't have the nerves. But I think having the world and Palestine behind me brought me just such a calm energy on the first day of the rounds. So at the end of the day, no matter how hard it was to witness, I think it was really what got me to the line and brought me peace at the line.
While Layla is trying to bring awareness to Palestinian suffering, the attacks on Gaza continue. Israel's critics accuse it of using Paris 2024 as a distraction. Meanwhile, exchanges of hostages have been few, and peace talks between Israel and Palestine have gone nowhere.
It's been months and months since what's been going on since October. Do you believe sports can ever play a role in building a bridge between the two countries?
I mean, I think the Olympic Village is a perfect example of when we all come together. There's people from all walks of life in the whole world here, and I think that's just an example to the world of what things could look like. And I think sports are inherently something that have created change in the past, and I think we can utilize it to leverage and be that springboard into change. And so I definitely think it's possible. I think change takes time, but it feels like we're getting closer and closer with how things have ramped up in the last several months, because the world has kind of woken up to what's happening, and using the platform of sport delivers a huge message.
And finally, what message would you like to convey to the international community about how the war in Gaza is impacting not only Palestinian athletes, but the Palestinians back home as a whole?
It's a good one. You know, I think the biggest message is, as athletes, the impact has been great, and we've lost so many athletes, and we're battling that, but there's so much potential for us. And on the whole, and they go hand in hand, is we're people that love life. We love being able to show up to things like the Olympics and compete. We love hanging out with our friends. We love being able to walk freely, and these are just basic human rights, and everybody deserves those human rights. Doesn't really matter where you stand, whether you're an athlete or not in Palestine. In some regard, you're missing those basic rights to exist and enjoy life, and I think that's the biggest impact. And it's really huge that we take a look at how this is impacting humanity on the whole, because it's not just a Palestinian issue, it's a world issue, and it echoes its way into all different aspects of life, and sport is just one of them.